to Night School Reflections. You are over here with Tarithia, and I know you thought we had stopped, but we are back over here on our 48 Laws of Power series. And I came to talk to you about Law 22, 23, and we might go into 24. So with that being said, Law 22 says, use the surrender tactic to transform your weakness into power. We all have weaknesses, reflection, but there's duality in everything. Wherever you have a weakness, you can always use that same energy to transform it into a power. Okay, so with that being said, think about your weakness. Think about a weakness that you have, reflection. And think about all the things that you could do to turn that weakness into power. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about it. When you are weaker, never fight from honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infiltrate and unsettle him. Make a surrender a tool of power. So sometimes, reflection, just because a person step back or they step down, or it seems like they don't want to necessarily go into the fire at that given moment, doesn't necessarily mean they have lost the war. Losing a battle and losing a war is totally different. Okay. Think about the boxer Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali used to box, he would wait for his opponent. He didn't start going straight in. He would wait till his opponent lose their power, lose their strength, and then he would go in for the attack. Okay, let's keep it going. It's called patience is always the key. In classical times, the city of Athens dominated the sea and coastal areas around Greece. But Sparta in Peloponnese had been Molossia's original colonizer. During the Peloponnesian War, then the Melaneans refused to ally themselves with the Athens. They remained loyal to Mother Sparta. Melaneans surrendered and became an ally rather than suffering devastation and defeat. The fact that the strong do what they have to do to keep power and the weak accept what they have to accept. Those in power are determined what is fair and what is not. Those are just some passages that I wanted to read from this particular law, reflection. So what does that mean? Think about going to war, reflection. If you go to someone and necessarily you propose a proposal to them and they don't necessarily want to go with your proposal, think about certain wars that are even started. Okay, reflection. And you can even go back into the olden days where they would actually go into certain cities and ask for certain things out of that city. And if they didn't give it to them, they would prepare and come back and literally take over the whole city. Instead of just striking them right then, it gave them time to prepare how they would come back and take over the whole city. So it was a battle lost that day because they didn't get what they needed, but in the end they won the war because they came back and literally took over the whole city. This sounds familiar, doesn't it, reflection? Okay, so with that being said, let's keep going. Voltaire was living in exile in London at a time when an anti-French sentiment was at its highest. One day, walking through the streets, he found himself surrounded by an angry crowd. Hanging him. Hang the Frenchman, they yelled. Voltaire calmly addressed the mob with the following words. Men of England, you wish to kill me because I am a Frenchman. Am I not punished enough in not being born an Englishman? The crowd cheered his thoughtful words and escorted him safely back to his lodgings. Okay, reflection, that is an example of using this particular law to its advantage. Using his weakness, he can't help who he was born as, reflection, but instead of trying to go back and forth with him, he used that to his advantage and made them feel like they were in power. Okay, so, and live to see another day. Okay, so with that being said, let's keep going. Let's talk about some keys to this particular law. Learn to turn your weakness into power. What gets us into trouble in the realm of power is often our own overreaction to the moves of our enemies and our rivals. The overreaction creates problems we would have avoided if we had been more reasonable. It also has an endless rebound effect. For the enemy then overreacts as well. That's like you're arguing with someone. You get loud, they get louder. Okay, so much as the Athenians did to the Melians, it is always our first instinct to react, to meet aggression with some other kind of aggression. But the next time someone pushes you and you find yourself starting to react, try this. Do not resist or fight back, but yield. Turn the other cheek, bend. You will find that this often neutralizes their behavior, which is unexpected. Even though this person wanted you to react with force, so they are caught off guard and confronted by your lack of resistance. Remember, it's a domino effect. If you get loud, they're going to get louder. If you neutralize the situation, feed it positive energy, to come back and do whatever it is you feel like is necessary for that situation later, but you have now made time to have that time to brainstorm to do that. It's called neutralizing the situation. Okay, it says, deprived from a reason to get angry, your opponents will often be wielded instead, and they are unlikely to react more violent, which would demand a reaction from you. Instead, you are allowed the time and space to plot counter moves that will bring them to their ultimate demise. In the battle of intelligence against the brutal and the aggressive, the surrender tactic is the supreme weapon, okay? It does not require self-control. Those who genuinely surrender give up their freedom and may be crushed by the humiliation of their defeat. You have to remember that you only appear to be you only appear that you have surrendered. Reflection, it's appearance. It's called illusions. Okay, the whole time you have a time to come up with your counter attack. Okay, we're talking about the 48 laws of power. We're talking about law 22, using your weakness as power. Okay, so running away may save you time from being the aggressor, which will eventually catch up with you. If you surrender instead, you have the opportunity to coil around your enemy and strike with your fangs from close up. Okay, reflection. So, let's talk about it. Power is always a flux. It seems the game is by nature fluid in the area of constant struggle. Those with power always find themselves eventually on the downward swing. If you find yourself temporarily weakened, the surrender tactic is perfect for raising yourself up again. It disguises your ambition. It teaches you patience and self-control, which is very important. Key skills in the game, and it puts you in the best possible position for taking advantage of your opponent's sudden slide. If you run away or fight back, in the long run, you cannot win. If you surrender, you will almost always come out in victory. Okay, let's talk about the oak tree. An oak tree. The oak that resists the wind loses its branches one by one. And with nothing left to protect it, the trunk finally snaps, which is the foundation. The oak that bends lives longer. Its trunk grows wider and its roots deeper and deeper. So what does that mean, reflection? The tree understood the power of the force of the wind. So instead it bent. It didn't try to come against the wind, because eventually over time it was going to break the branches until eventually the foundation was going to be gone and the tree is no more. It's different than when the tree just have a little bent branch. It still survived to see another day. Okay, so we are talking about law 22, making your weakness your power. Now, this can come out in the reversal sometimes. So let's talk about that. The point of surrendering is to save you for a later date when you can come back to your opponents. It is precisely to avoid aggression that one surrenders. But there are at times when the enemy will not relent. And it seems that being aggressive is the only way out. Furthermore, if you are willing to die, Others may gain power and inspiration for your example. Okay, reflection. So they're saying sometimes this can work in the reversal as well. Sometimes you will catch yourself in a situation where you cannot neutralize the situation. Okay, we are talking about the reversal of Law 22, turning your weaknesses into power and using the surrender tactic, and when knowing when to actually use the surrender tactic.